Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to come back around. It's after the holidays. We're ready to dive right back into some bad TV shows. So we are going to talk about The Witcher Blood Origin in this episode. Now, I have to say, the only reason why I gave this one even an inkling of my time was for Michelle Yeoh. And I absolutely love her. I honestly think that her parts in Blood Origin are probably the best ones. Now, with that being said, after jumping into it with that kind of a statement, I have to say that The Witcher Blood Origin is not as shit as I thought it was going to be. It is still bad. It's just not the level of bad that I was anticipating. After seeing quite a few of the episodes of like Willow and things like that, where they just epically devastated anything remotely good about the origin of what that thing was, I don't know. I don't know if Blood Origin goes to that level. I honestly think if you can somehow separate Blood Origin, like let's say you go into this show thinking that it is a fantasy series that is in no way connected to The Witcher, even though I know that this is like the entire story is meant to give you like the origin story of The Witcher. But if you can somehow, miraculously, somehow separate in your mind this from like the Witcher TV series and the Witcher books and the Witcher games, if you can separate it and just say, this is a fantasy TV series from like the Sci-Fi Channel, it's probably not going to be the worst thing that you watch. It's got some decent parts to it and some not so decent parts to it. So I think if nothing else, you should fast forward through the majority of the crap and just watch Michelle Yeoh, because she is Michelle Yeoh in this. Like, she is epically amazing. She does really great like action sequences, and I don't think that is different in this show. I think just seeing her on screen is amazing. Like, she just commands everything, and she's not even really a major player in this television series. The first episode, you are not going to see her come in until about the last 5 to 10 minutes or so. And I think that those 5 to 10 minutes are probably the best of the entire episode, right? Of like that first episode. So the whole rest of it, I'm of two minds about this series. Like, it almost seems as though maybe there were competitive writers on this series, one that had some frame of reference and wanted it to actually be decent, and then maybe another half of the writing team that really just wanted to make it trash. And you can kind of see those sort of elements throughout, like with costuming, for instance. I think that a lot of the costuming, you're kind of looking at it and you're going, wow, that is the most ridiculous sort of silly costume that I've ever seen. And then there are a few characters, the princess that kind of becomes empress, if you've watched the show, her costuming I think is actually really beautiful and really well thought out. And the other, gosh, I don't even know what her name is, Eileen, I think is her name. One of the characters in it, her costume is also quite great. And a few of the characters don't annoy me as much as I anticipated that they would. It's just the story is a bit mediocre. The CGI is a joke, like, and I don't know that the CGI and stuff was that much better in the actual Witcher series, but I think at least in the Witcher series they did some creatures in that were easily able to do with like an actor that just has makeup. Whereas in this one, like I've only seen so far one creature. I'm not too far into it. There's only 4 episodes. I've only made it through about half of those. And there's only one creature that I can remember like being on screen because I did sort of black out for most of this. And that creature it kind of looks like a dragonfly, like an evil dragonfly, if that's a thing. And it kills people with like its laser vision. So it kind of reminded me of like Austin Powers. I just want a creature with freaking laser beams. It's kind of like that. And it is the most ridiculous thing that you've ever seen in your life. It just like hits them with this laser beam and they like explode into like blood powder. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And I think if that had not been the case, if they had somehow been able to bring some monsters into this that they had the budget for, I don't know that it would have been as bad. But again, you know, like this is why I say I'm of two minds. Like I think witnessing Michelle Yeoh really do anything is worth your time because her skills are just incredible. And I love seeing her in a lot more shows, you know, and getting kind of more parts and center stage of those things. That being said, I don't know. It's not good. It's not a good show. It's not one that I feel like I would watch on purpose, you know? Like I want to keep going because I really want to see Michelle Yeoh. Like I really want to see her in this show, but I really don't want to watch everyone else. It's just not, you know, do you get what I'm saying, right? And then there is another character who I don't even know what his name is. Honestly, I don't know if I just like have been staring at his mouth more than like listening to anyone talking to him. But he's really attractive. His name is Lawrence. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name, but the actor who plays him. And he's like the main dude that I feel like I have an inkling is going to be the first Witcher because that just makes sense. But he's like this elven dude and he is pretty, y'all. He's pretty. And I almost want to like hate myself and continue to watch this show just so that I can like see him and Michelle Yeoh in the show, you know? It's not worth it. It's not. But I'm tempted to just be like, if he's shirtless like 90% of the time, I maybe could like struggle bus it through. I don't know. I think that this one is one of those very weird fantasy series that, again, it just missed the mark, right? That it had potential. It had something to go on. And then they just maybe didn't have the budget to bring it 100%, you know? And that is kind of a bummer. Like, I almost wonder if maybe the majority of the budget wasn't spent on getting some actors that were halfway decent instead of just casting people that have never acted their way out of anything. And then maybe the budget for everything else just kind of fell short. And I can't imagine that they had like the largest budget for Blood Origin anyway, you know, but man, I don't know. See, and I'm not a huge, like, I haven't read any of the Witcher books or anything like that. So I'm not a huge like wealth of knowledge as far as the Witcher series. So kind of getting to hear the stories is somewhat interesting to me, but the way that it's being played out is not interesting at all. Like, you can literally walk away from this television series and come back and you wouldn't have missed anything. Like, it's not compelling enough or interesting enough that makes you want to sit and watch everything. And I think the original Witcher with Henry Cavill at least had that. Like, it at least was a drama series enough and interesting enough that some of the sillier things weren't really that bad, you know? And even with Henry Cavill like leaving The Witcher, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. I am a Liam Hemsworth fan, so I am interested to see what he does. But if the original Witcher show is going to go the way of Blood Origin, I don't see that going well. But we shall see. I don't know. I mean, this one I would say, if you're looking for a fantasy series, give it a shot. And if it's something that you think that you can kind of live with, again, it being just sort of mediocre, it's not great. I don't think the show is ever going to get to that place where it's great. But it is just sort of a mediocre fantasy series, which I don't think is necessarily terrible. It's worth it just to see Michelle Yeoh. So that is going to be my review of The Witcher Blood Origin, is just, if you want to see Michelle Yeoh be awesome and badass, then you can probably suffer through this television series. It's not the worst. Again, it's not the worst that I've seen that's come out. It's not good, but it's not the worst. And it is something that if I am bored, I can see myself coming back to kind of fast forward through some bits just to get to something that isn't terrible. But yeah, so that's my review of The Witcher Blood Origin. I would love to know your opinion if you've seen it. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. You can find me on Instagram at Cinematic Sarcastic Podcast, and I hope to see you in the next episode.